Welcome to a WarDust tutorial. We're in the Barren Lands. This is one of the custom maps that has been built, one of the originals actually, and we use this for League on like a shorter 5-on-5 type of league, or even we've used it on 2-on-2. If you ever get a chance to play in it, set up a few people, it's a few bots to play against. It's actually a pretty fun map. Or if you have some friends, come in here with them, and it's fun to play with just a small group. Today we're going to go over changing bindings for the index controllers. You can actually use these methods for the other controllers. I just happen to have an index set up right now, and someone has asked me to show them how to change the bindings for their trigger, specifically to throw the frag. So here we are. We know that the trigger works to shoot, and we know the trigger works when you have a frag in your hand. You pull the trigger and you throw it, and when you let go, it will throw. And oh, there it is. Okay, so it went. So we want to change that. So what we're going to do is on the left hand, there is a dimple button underneath your A button on your left hand. You want to click that. It will bring up this menu. On the bottom right side, there is a cog that says settings. Well, you're going to pull this up. You want to make sure this top says WarDust, because you want to change this setting just for WarDust. You don't want this to change in other games. We always want to click custom, and we want to do edit binding. Okay, so right now, my Happy Pappy binding came up. So we need to change that to the standard binding, back to the standard binding, to show you this properly. So let's see if I can do this. I don't know why I did this. Oh, I'm going to activate the index controller legacy binding. Okay, so I've got that on. So we will edit that. You guys, when you open it up, this will be your the legacy normal bindings will be in here, and this is what you'll see. You'll see on your left-hand side, you'll see your left index controller options. On your right side, you'll see your right controller options. When you highlight each box, it shows you which button you are editing. And you'll notice these two boxes control the trigger, and it's pointing to the trigger. Same on this side. To scroll down, you use your toggle, or you use your trigger and you pull down and you scroll down. So in this instance, we want to change the trigger to another button. And actually what we're going to do is we're going to put the trigger on another button, but we're not going to change it off the trigger. So in essence, the actions of that trigger will be on two buttons. So you can still fire your gun with the trigger, and you'll be able to click one of the buttons, and it will do the same thing as something we want on the trigger. We're going to do that on the right controller, because that's the hand I think he's going to want to use for throwing that frag. So if you look at what's currently in here, we're looking at using the trigger, right trigger touch, and right trigger value, right trigger press, and right trigger touch. I don't know exactly what all these are all the time. Sometimes I play around with them. I think in general we want to use the click and the pull in this particular instant. So I'm going to look at those values. So the pull is a right trigger value, and the click is a right trigger press. That's probably the one we're going to need, because when you go to a button, you're clicking. So right trigger press, okay? So we're going to scroll down, and we are going to find the button. Now, I don't want to use the B button, which is the top button. That's the right application menu, because that's the button that's defaulting to use for Pro Loco. So if he wants to continue to use that as Pro Loco, he can do that. Let's change it to the A button. Now, if you'll notice, the A button is the default's currently being used as a grip also. So if you don't, most people don't use it for that, but if you're gripping to grab your gun, you can also use the A button in this instant to grab your gun. If you're not using the A button at all, it doesn't really matter. You can see if you notice these, they're the same values. In essence, what we're going to do is we're going to change this value to the click and the touch for the trigger. So let's go up. See, so we're looking for a right trigger press and a right trigger touch. So we're going to come back down here, find the A button. We're going to click on the pencil. When you do that, this box will be able to be highlighted. So we're going to click on the right grip button, and we're going to find the right trigger press. And we're going to change that, and we'll click on the next one, and we'll do a right trigger touch. And you can click on the check mark to key it in. Now let's make sure we did that right. Right trigger press, right trigger touch. Yep, so these buttons are in essence acting as the same thing. We haven't changed anything else. I will tell you there's another thing you can do. You could go to something, the trackpad, which very few people use this trackpad. You could change this to do the same thing. So let's do that also. You can have 3 buttons now that control your trigger. So let's do the touch. Let's do a right trigger. Press. And position shouldn't matter. So it's just a touch. So there's none for that. Okay. We locked it in. Okay. So now we're going to test it. You don't have to. You can save the binding at this point, which is probably a good idea. Save personal binding. And you can name it whatever you want. And then you can put your description. I would highly recommend you name it with your name and put index controller trigger change, something that's descriptive of what you did. And then under description, type in exactly what you changed so that if you don't like it, you can go in there and change it back. You know what you've done. Okay? You can always go back to the legacy binding anyway, but you don't have to save it right now to try it. You can keep this in there and just hit your back button. Go all the way back. And now we're here. So let's try it out. So we did it. I'm going to use that A button to throw it. Yep. Boom. Let's use the trackpad to throw it. There you go. Let's see if this works. We used a trackpad to shoot, an A button to shoot, and the trigger to shoot. So now you have 3 ways to shoot and throw your frags for some reason if you want. But you can change any of those buttons that you're looking at between any other buttons or make some of them duplicates. So you can play around as much as you want it. I'm going to show you one last little secret, okay? We're going to go back in there, and we're going to go into the settings. We're going to edit the binding we're in. See, I'm still in this legacy binding. Let's go into the trigger button. We're going to click on the pencil. You know what? I'm going to go into the grip because Roundy had a question about, some people were complaining the grip was too sensitive or not sensitive enough. So let's do this. Let's go into the grip button, and we're going to hit the pencil. As soon as you do that, you get a cog in this corner. Click on your cog. Look at, you've got your input settings. See your activation thresholds and deactivation thresholds? Move this down a little bit. Close it and go back. Let's play some WarDust. So now it's easier to pick up these guns and release them based on that sensitivity. If you do it and you're finding it's too sensitive, you keep dropping it somehow, then you just go back and change it just a tiny bit until you get it to where you want it to be. Okay, that's the end of the tutorial. There's a lot you can do in there. If you ever have any questions and you're stuck on any binding changes, feel free to ask the question in Discord and I can put together something or answer your question for you. Thanks a lot. Bye.